Hey guys, how you going? I've just made this video to elaborate on a concept that came up on Friday night. So Donnie and I were talking about how we take aggressive entries. We don't necessarily wait for confirmation. And someone asked, "Are you wrong often?" Um, and I would say yes. But the key is I target a big risk to reward. And so even though I'm not wrong 80, 90% of the time, when I'm right, it pays for my losses and it makes me money. So what I've done, it really reminds me of a concept I learned in gambling called expected value. So I've just whipped up a little calculator to show you expected value itself, and then I'll show you how that applies to trading. So I'll show you guys the calculator I made. So the expected value formula, right? Whoops, this is the trading one. Give me 2 seconds. The expected value formula is the probability of a win times the result of that win minus the probability of a loss times the result of that loss. And what it actually tells you is every time you take that bet, how much can you expect to make? So let's take the example of a coin flip, right? A coin flip is a 50-50 probability. It's heads or tails, you either win or you don't, but it's a 50-50 probability, right? So let's say that we bet $10 against each other. Well, you get an expected value of 0 because your probability of a win times your result of a win gives you $5, right? 50% times $10. Your probability of a loss times the result of a loss also gives you $5. So when you minus one from the other, you get 0. Now, obviously, you can't have 0 be the result of a coin flip. If we flip the coin once, I either make $10 or I lose $10. I can't make 0, but everything in probability works on a large number of trials, usually an infinite number of trials, but a large number of trials, because that's you need a large number of trials for the laws of probability to sort of kick in, I suppose. So what we would actually expect if we took this bet 1,000 times is to end up break even. Right now, we would basically just be giving $10 back and forth. You might win 10 in a row, but by the time we got to trial 1,000, you could expect to be at 0 or very, very close to 0. Now, that this is how casinos work, this is how gambling works, right? Is they have a positive expected value. So let's take the example of Crown, right? If you go to Crown and you bet on the roulette, it's a while since I've been, but I'm pretty sure there's 37 numbers. There's 1 to 35, and then there's 0 and 00. So you have a 1 in 37 chance of picking the right number. It gives you a 2.7% chance of a win. Now, if you do win, you win $35 for every dollar that you lose, so minus 1. And this one here, I've just made it 100 minus that, so we don't have to worry about the probability of a loss. That's already done for us. So we don't want that minus. The minus is already in the formula. So it's just a 1, right? So what this tells us is every dollar that we place on a number on roulette, we can expect to lose 3 cents. We can expect to lose 3%. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but if you consider the volume, the amount of money that goes over the table at Crown, you can see why Crown is huge, why Crown takes up most of Southbank. There is a lot of money to be made when you have an edge and you can get that kind of volume, you can just cash in. And that, look at Vegas. Casinos, bookmakers, they exist because of expected value. They have an edge. It's basically another word for an edge. Or the mathematical word for an edge is expected value. And the catch is every time there's positive expected value for the casino, there's negative for you, right? That's why you're losing 3 cents per bet. The only reason I used to be able to do what I did was because most people don't understand expected value. If they did, they wouldn't bet. I made my money off the bookies, but the bookies wouldn't exist if most people understood expected value. So how that is useful in trading, or the concept is useful in trading. So let's take your hit rate on your strategy. That's comparable to your probability of a win, right? If you know your strategy has a 50% hit rate, every trade you take, you have a 50% chance of being right. Now, your result on a loss, if you're using correct risk management, should be 1%. Should be 1% of your account that you're risking. Your average risk to reward will essentially tell you your potential profit on the trade, right? And then your account growth per trade will be sort of the mirror of your expected value, right? If you use these values. So someone like me, I have probably about a 50% strike rate. I target at least 3 to 1. And so every single trade that I take, when I'm risking 1%, which I always do, every trade that I take, I can expect to make 1% growth on my account, right? So my hit rate's not that good, but my risk to reward is usually high. And so I usually have a positive expected value. I have a positive account growth per trade. Now, someone like Chase, right? I idolize, he always targets 1.5 to 1. Now, I idolize Jace, so if it was up to me, I'd give him a 99% strike rate. I don't actually know what his strike rate is, but I'm going to assume that it's above 80. To be honest, if I had to bet on it, I would bet it was above 90, but we'll give him 80 to give him the benefit of the doubt, or make it a bit more achievable for someone else who's watching. So if you're always targeting 1.5 to 1 and you have an 80% strike rate, you will also make 1% per trade, right? Now, this is not a new concept. If you've done the course through the guys, you would have seen it. They go through, they have a table and it shows you if you're targeting a minimum risk to reward, how often you have to be right or what your hit rate has to be. So for 1.2 to break even. So for 1.5 to 1, if you have a 40% strike rate, you will break even. So as soon as you cross that barrier, you start making money, right? If you have a 3 to 1, well, you need to hit, let's just say you only hit 20%, then you're going to be losing money. But as soon as you start getting 25% right, you break even. At 30%, you are making money. Whoops, what did I do there? At 30%, you start making money, right? So where this is useful is, one, it tells you with every strategy that you have, once you do know the hit rate and you have your minimum risk to reward, it tells you what you can expect to make every time you take a trade. Two, it helps your psychology with your trading itself. Because for me, if I know that I have my 50% strike rate and my 3 to 1 risk to reward, and I'm confident that every time I take a trade, I can make 1% on my account, I don't have that fear of loss that some people have when trading, because I know that if I can take 1,000 of this exact trade, and if it fits my plan, that's the key. It has to fit my plan. I know that if I can take this trade 1,000 times, in the long run, I'm going to make money, right? And so that helps me with my trading. It helps my psychology. So there you go. I hope that helped clear up some of the confusion Friday night. I hope that this gives you sort of another way of thinking about your strategies in terms of, for me, every strategy, the key is hit rate, risk to reward, because that tells you everything you need to know. Is it a strategy that works? That's the most important place to start. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something. I hope it was useful. I hope you're having a great day.